ready for another lesson?
Playing.
What's up, everybody? I can't hear that music at
You're
all.
good. You came in just fine.
Discord. You know what? It's been so many times that we've done this now, Nathaniel, that I've just got the timing down.
I guess
in
so.
my head. I don't even have to hear it. I've done this a lot because, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 100 of Back Row Banter.
The century.
Yeah, we have a little cheer noise, Nathaniel. Anything we can do, like a party popper noise on the soundboard? Something?
Ooh, applause. Applause.
Ah, thank you. Yes, it's episode 100, our first triple-digit episode. This is exciting. This is a milestone that I'm not like shocked to be at, but wasn't sure when we started this if we would get here.
It's crazy, right?
What you guys would agree? Yeah, right. I mean, we can get into talking about that first, but before we get into any of that, I'm Adam Schwartz, one of your hosts. Joining me today, it's Nathaniel Gingrich.
Hello, I'm Nathaniel.
Also joining us is Valhalla Tyler Verdalis.
Let's go.
And then rounding out the squadron is big brotherly betrayal BlakeHolder.
What's up?
I went for the quadruple alliteration this episode.
There you go.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah. Welcome, everybody. Like I said, it's episode 100. Our review for the episode is going to be The Northman. We're going to talk a bit first, kind of, reminisce about the past 100 episodes, the show and everything like that, for the first half or so, and then we'll review the movie in the second half. So check the episode description if maybe you just want to, go ahead, skip to the review if that's all you're interested in. I'll have the timestamp you can jump to for that. And we will maybe, depending on what time we're done, kind of talking around, shooting the shit, we might do what we're watching, but that'd probably be about it for the episode. But that being said, guys, this is awesome. I'm really happy that we are here. It's been a lot of fun. Like this is something we started in quarantine, in kind of in the heart of quarantine. I mean, it was shortly after like the hard lockdown of those first like 2 months or so. Into the summer. So we started July 6th, I believe, was when our first episode was started. Let me double check that really quick, just so I have my information correct. July 6th, 2020.
That was episode.
Our first two episodes were uploaded.
Yeah.
The King of Staten Island review, of course, and our top 10 movie lists. Which I wonder, we should maybe circle back to those sometime soon, because I wonder how maybe some of our lists have changed in the past year and a half or so.
Ooh.
From then, because I think mine might have. Mine actually almost definitely has. And quite a few movies that I've talked about, on the podcast, whether it's ones we've reviewed or ones I've talked about when we're watching, have made it into that list, or at least have contended, have been runner-ups for that list. And I, haven't listened to either of those episodes since they released, just because of how like terrible they sounded. And I'm not talking about necessarily our podcast,
our
skills
banter,
and everything. Obviously, yeah, the bantering part of that, because obviously it was our first time any of us have done that, and I'm not gonna be mad at the fact that
I think you're forgetting episode 0. Come on, we had all that practice ahead of time.
I was gonna mention episode 0, but we'll get to that later in Back Row Banter history story time, whatever we're calling this segment. But yeah, man, we had the one microphone on the table, just on a pole, max gain, so it heard all of us, but also picked up every echo possible.
The air conditioning in the background. We were
sweating
in
the background.
It was July.
Audio quality, it was July, so it was hot as hell. I had swamp ass pretty heavily.
Yes.
Yeah, it was. It was the first episode of a podcast. For
sure.
People who've never done one before, and that's totally cool. And we slowly grew our podcasting abilities, obviously, and kind of gained experience with that. And episode by episode every week that I would listen back, because I used to listen every single episode, and I still do listen to the episodes occasionally after they go up, just kind of make sure everything sounds right, or if we should be changing things up a little bit. But back then I was listening to every single episode when it aired or was uploaded, and listening back to those first 25 episodes, as I would listen back, you could hear the improvement in our talking and bantering and everything like that, week by week by week. And we haven't like necessarily plateaued. That growth has slowed down because we were doing the same thing every week. We haven't been challenging ourselves as much, but like we grew so much in those first 3 or 4 months of doing the podcast. It was awesome to see.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Garage startup for sure.
Yeah.
Apartment
so is Amazon.
startup.
Maybe we'll one day get that big.
Oh gosh.
Actually, I think it's more likely that we're bought by Amazon at some point
Yeah,
than
sure.
it is that we become that big.
Is that prostitution at that point? Are we selling ourselves for money?
No, we're selling Back Row Banter LLC,
Yeah, we're selling
all
our
of our assets.
product.
but we will.
I'm
maintain
saying
our
I'm a
shares.
quarter. I'm a quarter of this company, and I am not leaving.
I ain't fucking leaving.
Oh man, great scene. We haven't done that movie.
No.
Maybe we should. Maybe we should. Yeah. So episode 1, July 6th, 2020, in a hot, sweaty, Back Row Banter HQ, aka Nathaniel's and Ty's at that time. Of course.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is still episode 1 is still our most downloaded episode at 278 downloads.
The pilot
Which isn't-
episode.
Yeah, which isn't shocking to me because we all posted about it, and I'm sure friends and family and anyone who's seen it was like, "Oh, he started a podcast." Like, I'll click on this link, and
Right,
see it.
for
And
sure.
I don't even know how many people listened all the way through that episode. But 278 downloads, which pains me a little bit because it sounded so bad, and like I feel like if people heard us with
Now?
the quality that we have now, it would be so much different to like restart something like that, and that's totally fine though. That's how it's gonna be.
We've got our core
Or-
group though, our number ones.
Yes, we do. We do
True.
have that core group that has been retained since episode 1, and we do
The real
appreciate
ones.
you guys listening. The
Yeah, we
real
love you.
OGs. Yeah, we do. We really do. When did we? So we had. Let's see. I think the first 9 episodes. It must have been 9 or 10 episodes. No, it was the first 9 episodes. We're in Ty and Nathaniel's apartment with the one mic set up. And then it was when I went to school that we started doing it over Discord, but we had no mixer at the time, so we were using Craig and Jirac.
That's right.
Craig
Oh
was-
man, yeah.
Craig was the recording
Rest in
software
peace.
that would enter that would enter our Discord call, and then Jirac was the backup recording. Jirac was just Craig spelled backwards, and it was the backup recording. But I forgot who said something, but someone said Jirac one day because they were just reading the name of it quickly, and it kind of looked
Feels
like that.
Yeah,
feels like a
I think it was
Tylerism.
Ty.
Yeah, that feels like a
Might have been
Tylerism.
I'm pretty sure it was me.
Yeah, and so the name kind of stuck, and every time I would say, Craig enter chat or whatever it was, I forgot the input I even had to do to get it to enter the chat. It would go now recording. It was super robotic voice, and it was really funny. And that lasted. I don't know when we got the mixer. About when did we start using the mixer, Nathaniel?
No
You're the one that
idea.
purchased it.
Yeah, I
You're
can't
the one
even
that made that
remember.
investment.
I can't even remember at
Um,
this point.
It wasn't like. Was it around Christmas time of last year of like 2020?
I think it was
20.
before that. I want to say it wasn't like a thing. It was literally like that we just were in the store one day and it was there and I was like, I'm buying this. Like it wasn't
Okay.
even a thought at that point.
Yeah.
But yeah, I want to say it was like September maybe or like fall at that time.
Well, we used Jirac and Craig for quite a bit. if I
Yeah, we
remember
did.
correctly, like months. I
Yeah, for
think we
sure.
got. I remember you getting it more towards like January,
It's possible. It's very
January,
possible.
February of 2021. But yeah, eventually we got the mixer, and ever since then, audio quality has been better. Our only issue now is Discord, and there are some things that could be done to make it better that I've looked into making it better, and it's just kind of in a static state right now. Shit happens, and it still sounds pretty good, way better than our first few episodes. But yeah, we've been rocking with these ever since. Anything is preferable to episode 0, as Nathaniel mentioned earlier. That was also on the one mic setup, and initially, since we didn't know anything about recording a podcast, we all bought USB mics. One I'm actually still using.
Yeah, and Blake.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, and Blake. Yeah, just USB mics that you could just plug into a laptop. And I just didn't know how audio things worked, and was a little naive at that time, and thought you could just plug 4 USB microphones into a USB hub, and they would all start recording. And spent an hour trying to figure out how to get it to work, and then I just gave up and was like,
We'll just do
we
it separately.
We just did it separately. And actually, I take that back. We did not record that episode on one mic. We set up each microphone individually on our own laptops. Yes, that's what we did. On our own laptops, we recorded separate audio files, synced them up. Ty's never ended up recording, or he recorded through OBS using video, and I could never get the audio off of his video. And so when I finalized that episode, just to have you guys listen to it, because we never planned on releasing it, it was just going to be a run-through wrap. And the review we did was The Five Bloods.
Yep. Still a great movie. I still love that movie. I think about that movie all the time. Like, especially that shot of them walking down the corridor dancing.
The dancing scene
dude,
was pretty good.
I think about that all the time. I've seen GIFs from that. Like, it's great.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Yeah, I haven't seen it make it into like pop culture.
Film Twitter, well, I think my Twitter algorithm's definitely like tied to me at this point, because it was like something like it was like it was something like how I want to be walking into the club like every week or something like that, and then it was just him doing it was the Delroy Lindo as he danced in or something. I was like, fuck, this is awesome. That's such a good scene.
Yeah. So that was the review for episode 0. We did a news. I think we did what we're watching. I don't think we did a trailer talk that episode. But when I went to go compile all of the separate audio files, Tyler's audio is coming through our microphones.
Yeah,
because they're USB microphones and not XLRs. They were picking up everything in the room, even at a very low gain. And so you could just hear Tyler through the other 3 microphones. And so when you lined it all up, you basically have Tyler, his echo is laid over 3 times in a way that he's actually audible at an equal volume to us almost, and it sounds terrible. And it definitely still sounds terrible, and I don't plan on releasing that episode anytime soon, but maybe for a Patreon release way later down the road if we ever get to that point. Who knows? I don't even know who would want to listen to that episode based on that audio quality. It's painful to listen to, at least for me. But yeah, that was kind of the those were the early days, which is funny to think about, man. That's already a year and a half ago, but it feels like we just started doing this still at the same time, I don't know if you guys feel that way.
No, every week I'm like, God, we're doing the podcast again. Like, it's still going, like we're
it's just built in my daily routine now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like my weekly routine. I just don't even think about it.
And that I think has definitely been like one of the big positives for me as like a creative person, to just have that outlet that I don't have to think about, that like is always there week in, week out. That's definitely kept me going in times when like writing or other stuff has definitely dried up a little bit, or the inspiration's not necessarily there. Just to have that still like critical thinking and creative outlet has definitely been a good thing for me. So
agreed.
Definitely.
Here.
Do you guys have any other things you'd like to say or stories you'd like to tell about those early days?
Dude, we just like we went to Home Depot to get like fucking PVC cutouts for the fucking like audio walls. And dude, like our living room looked like we were just like a bunch of 20-something-year-olds just building high-end forts, and there are fucking cables everywhere and pillow walls, and dude, like it was just like day one stuff. It was just it was fun, dude. It's been a wild ass ride.
Was episode 0?
Yeah, man.
Did we release that, and that's where Humble Brag Master's Degree guy came from your brother?
No.
Or was that episode 1?
That was episode 3 that got donned, because episode 1, and I think in episode 1, when we're introducing ourselves, when we get to you, I don't know if I say it or if you say it, we get to you, and I think I introduced you as like you while this is a casual movie talk podcast, you actually look at films differently than us. You go, well, yeah, I have my master's degree in film, and so my brother, after listening to the episode, texts my family group chat and goes, oh, so this guy's gonna humbly brag about his master's degree and just move on like it didn't say anything.
I think it was
so then,
is that, and I had a wild laugh is what his review was.
Yes.
Which,
exactly. Yeah.
That hasn't changed.
Yeah, has not changed. So then that's where the humble brag master's degree guy nickname was donned, which we haven't actually used that in quite a bit. On the podcast.
I'm actually I'm glad we're not using the OG names anymore, because I would go on board that I had the worst one, and I don't want that. I don't want that back in the rotation anymore, fellas. So
it won't come back. It won't. We're gonna keep it. We're gonna keep it in the first few eps. I was trying to find. I have the show notes from episode 1. The template is sort of the same, but it's very different in some ways. I don't have your guys' taglines written down, so I don't know what the hell I did.
It might have not been an episode 1 thing. It might have came on later.
I don't think it was.
Yeah, because I think that was added. Was the subjective movie list on there too?
Well, yes, it was.
Okay.
First week. It wasn't called the subjective movie list. It wasn't called that for a while. I'm trying to see when it was called the subjective movie list.
But yeah, definitely like there's
Let me see when that was.
There's always the things that pop up naturally, like the hop upon and shit goes down. Those are still some of my absolute favorites. You know, just little things that have shown up that weren't planned or anything like that, but just have grown.
Day in and day out.
Yeah, organically.
Yeah. I'm getting close to finding where I first donned, or started calling it weekly, the Adam Schwartz's completely subjective news streaming list. It would have been.
It's like the Entropy list too. That's still a name that I've never really like. Does Entropy mean what I think it means? I don't know, but it sounds good. So.
Funny enough, one of my buddies, Tay, who you've Ty and Adam gang with a little bit, and I think Nathaniel's maybe met at the
Frosty
store before.
Plums, right?
Yeah, that was his name. Yeah. But nonetheless, me and him, we talk about the podcast every once in a while. Then he like asked me, he's like, "What does Entropy list mean?" And I was like, "That's a great question. I don't know. I'll have to Google it for you." Like I really didn't have an answer for him on the spot. So
when you
I'm with you, Nathaniel.
Define entropy. Put it in Google, there's two definitions for it. One is a thermodynamic quantity representing the unavailability of a system's thermal energy for conversion into mechanical work, often interpreted as the degree of disorder or randomness in the system. And the second definition is lack of order or predictability, gradual decline in disorder. Into disorder. So entropy, it's essentially the chaos of a system. You know, the randomness and chaos of a system. And so when I had the idea of having our ranking and rating system be the entropy list, and just the word entropy came to mind because it was just random and chaos, because you have all these random genres just mashed up into one comparison of each other. And it's like, you know, my brother put it one way not too long ago, where he goes, you know, when you guys are reviewing these, you're trying to compare, you know, oranges to pancakes. It's like, yeah, one's good, but how do you compare fruit to, you know, like a hamburger, that kind of thing?
Sure, yeah.
And that's where that kind of randomness comes from. So that's why it's called the entropy list, if anyone is confused or has been confused for the past 100 episodes. I did find where the Adam Schwartz's completely subjective news streaming list became a thing. I officially started calling it that weekly on April 20th of 2021 for the Doctor Sleep episode. That is the first time that I started making that a thing weekly.
That's a quietly good episode. That's also the episode where I publicly announced that I did not know who Ian McGregor is. And you guys were like, "How the fuck do you not know who this guy is?"
Yeah, we realized.
Super funny.
And I was like, "Yeah, I only know this guy from Doctor Sleep."
Yeah, without Star Wars, you didn't have a frame of reference.
Have no frame of reference.
No,
I mean,
no.
I guess Black Hawk Down.
True, right? Which which came full circle about a year later.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a funny episode.
That is a good one.
Also, the What's also funny is Adam. I forgot what episode it is, but when Adam gets the Eli Roth.
That was episode number 2, baby.
That was
early. That's early on.
Yeah.
That's the first
what
inside
episode is
joke
that?
created. Episode 2.
Really?
One of the first 2 episodes to be released. We released both on release day at the same time.
Yeah.
That's an all-time classic.
Yeah. I still will never live that down, but I've since made amends for my mistake. But I still stand by that they do look pretty similar, especially Eli Roth in that movie looks pretty similar to Zachary Quinto. But I digress.
Tyler, you got a favorite memory? No? Okay.
There's just too much.
Fair enough.
I just like reminiscing about the early days. The audio walls will always just fucking kill me.
Yeah, that was funny.
It's just
Do you guys remember
walking in and it's just fucking chaos. I'm like, what are you guys doing?
Because was Leah in the apartment when we started the podcast?
No,
or was
she
that
wasn't.
Shortly after?
No, not when we started, but
It was pretty shortly after, though.
yeah, it wasn't too far.
Yeah. Do you guys remember the episode? I don't remember what it was, but it was one of the first 9 that we did because I remember we were still around the coffee, or not even the coffee table. We were around the card table with the mic on the stick. Might have been even episode 7 because I remember taking a picture while after recording that episode because Justin came over after we did, and I have a picture of the mic and Justin in it. And I was sitting in Nathaniel's leather gaming chair. And I had my gray Cubs shirt on, and it was probably about 90 degrees outside, and we turned off the AC so it wasn't on in the background. And I stand up from sitting there for an hour and a half, whatever it was, and my back is just covered in sweat. And I turn around, and I could like feel it, and then I turn around, and y'all just start dying laughing at me because I just had swamp ass out the wazoo because of that shit.
Yeah, there was heavy swamp ass in the early days. Remember Blake? I remember Blake too had to wear one earphone off to the side because the headphones would sweat.
It was so hot, yeah. And then I actually had to make the transition out of that gaming chair where I was like, I just can't do it anymore, fellas.
Dude, I couldn't either.
Yeah, that gaming chair, that thing was undefeated. I took a few L's to the gaming chair.
I could sit in that gaming chair like in the Antarctic and I'd still get swamp ass. Like I don't know how it generated heat that much.
Well, we were always trying to find places to set up the microphone stands too, because we were all using like arms at that time as well too, or we'd have like just the tripod as well. So like one of us would be leaned over a chair talking into the mic, so that we could all end up at like a normal volume.
We still did one mic until episode 9, and it wasn't until I came back that we had the mixer that we started doing that. Am I mistaken? Or no, you guys. When did we start having to do like weird ass things for microphone stands? Episode 0, we definitely did because we were stupid and had all the USB mics plugged in. Then once we just decided to do the one mic fits all, and whatever that disaster became. Yeah. Then we just had that one mic there. And then even now, kind of when we all 4 in the same room, we still have to squirm a little bit when we have all the mics plugged into the mix amp and the XLR and everything like that. But like the first time we did it, we were like so confused on how we were going to set up all of the mics and with the arms, and then we had like one pole, but it doesn't have an extender on it, so like you'd have to lean forward. Like you can just put the one that we were using for the one mic setup. Yep. And so we had to just stick the mic on the pole, and you'd have to like lean. I think I was the one that was using it because I was sitting on the edge of the couch, and I'd have to lean forward every time I talked. And I stood up after recording the episode for sitting like that for an hour and a half. I'm like, oh my god, my back! Like I'd just been leaning forward for like 2 hours straight. Killed me.
Don't let anyone tell you podcasting's not a physical profession, folks.
It's very demanding. It is, in the vocal cords.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, until you figure out that sitting in the same place for 2 hours week after week needs to be comfortable. Otherwise, you just don't want to do it.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it?
Yeah, it's weird how that works. I'm trying to see how many episodes we have total, because although this is episode 100, we do have more than 100 episodes out because we've done a few non-traditional episodes that we haven't counted as eps.
It's true.
We did
the bit of sizzle. That was
did the bit of sizzle between me and Nathaniel last November, which has which was fun, and we were planning on still continuing with that kind of spin-off series a little bit, where it's just like one-off reviews and in-depth reviews. We did a DC news dump in like episode 14. Episode 11 is a DC news dump. That's when DC fandom happened.
Yeah.
And they actually like, that's not something I feel like we do nowadays, but back then we thought it was necessary because it was like newsworthy, and
well, it's just so much
there was just so much coming out of that. Yeah, a ton came out of that. So we did a separate episode for that. And then we've done must-watch TV shows, top 10 lists, but I think both of those is must-watch TV shows. Did I count that as an episode?
I can't remember. I know we did that. We did the Halloween or horror movie
horror movie starter kit.
Yeah.
So that's what, 4 non-eps. I'm gonna have to see really quick if I counted.
And then we did we did our own Entropy lists, or like how we would the year
1 year. 1 year of Back Row Banter, because we still are only at a year and a half, and it's funny talking about this because we're talking about it like it was a decade ago.
Right.
But it was only a year and a half.
Calendar wise, it's been
a little over a year and a half. Though. I mean, you're looking at it's probably a year 9 months.
Yeah, I mean we're almost into May, and we started in July.
July.
So a year, 9 or 10 months or so.
Right.
So yes, almost 2 years. Must watch TV shows did count as episode 5.
There we go.
So there's that.
But at the same time, are we at like 99 movies on the Entropy list? So like,
yeah, we're down 1. So it about evened out, regardless.
Yeah, we're almost at 100 reviews, and we've done a few more extra apps in there as well too.
So yeah. But it's been fun.
It's true.
So like I said, our biggest episode so far was the Staten Island episode 1, 278. Do you guys have guesses on the next 2 or 3 episodes for most downloads?
I think horror movie starter kit was up there for a while. Like it was relatively high.
Let's see here.
Inception.
And this is to clarify, I'm really only looking at podcast downloads. I am not looking at YouTube. Although I'm going to pull up YouTube really quick to see if there are any outlying statistics that should be played in.
Nothing of note, I would guess.
Yeah.
I feel like Tenet and Inception were other big ones.
Yeah, I would say Inception has a chance. Maybe the movie wasn't that great, but maybe that Snyder Cut Justice League, just because that was kind of a big deal when that dropped.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Good guess.
Outside of that, I don't know. Do we have like any Avengers on here?
Oh, there it is.
Oh, we don't, right?
We don't. We have plenty of Marvel movies at this point.
Yeah.
That'd
be my guess.
Last year. Tyler, do you have any big guesses you want to throw out there?
I really wouldn't be able to. I have it's got to be something that's not
right.
Like a typical review, in my opinion. I just don't know what it would be. I've looked at the Buzzsprout stuff quite a bit, probably more than I would guess that probably Blake or Nathaniel probably look at it. I really don't know if you guys pull that up often, but yeah, I really couldn't tell you.
Yeah, I just checked are those emails daily? I feel like I get them a lot. Anytime it comes through, I take a look at it. Yeah.
It's definitely monthly, if not bi-weekly, because I definitely
it depends on the weeks. Sometimes they'll send like one a week. Sometimes, every time I upload the episode, it'll send a notification, an email, and there's a few more that they sprinkle in and promotional stuff, and then I get, other podcast, development tools or whatever reaching out like, Back Row Banter would be great on X platform. You should claim your title today or something like that. And, haven't even opened them. Don't care. All right. second most downloaded episode
Top 10 list
is in fact a tie between top 10 list, which is, you know, taking some residual effect of being released on day one and coming off of that high that we saw when we first released. It is tied with Django Unchained, episode 25, released November 10th of 2020. That is the second most downloaded episode according to Buzzsprout. So just podcast audio exclusively. I think it actually also has a good YouTube viewing as well, if I remember. YouTube has been hit or miss on some episodes have just a decent amount of views, some just have like almost none. Every single episode has at least one review or one view or so.
Thank you, one viewer.
Yeah,
It's
thank you for watching on YouTube. Yeah, I was about to say it's Ty. I know he watches on YouTube mainly. Yeah, Django's got quite a few on YouTube. The third/4th most downloaded episode is one that actually it's not going to surprise you. It's the fifth one that's going to surprise you. The fourth/third is Tenet, which Nathaniel said earlier. Tenet or Inception. Inception is at 99. Tenet is at 145. In the fifth one, any guesses here?
Well, it's something surprising. So, like, I don't know, like American Pickle or some shit. Like,
oh God.
Thankfully, it's not American Pickle.
I have no idea.
Let me give you guys a hint here. Let me check where it's at on the Entropy list. I'll give you like a top 25 or something like that.
Is King of Staten Island up there yet?
I already said that's number one.
Number one.
Oh, it is.
Not
Okay.
counting that. It is in the top 25.
Kill Bill
on the Entropy list. It is not Kill Bill. Although the Kill Bills are decently rated. Let me see where those are at. Kill Bill Volume 1 has got 64 and Volume 2 has 75. I don't know who would watch the review of one and not the other, but, you know, shit happens.
Yeah, animals.
Shit.
It's in the top 25. Number 4 is.
Is it Hereditary?
It is not. It is not Hereditary. Although Hereditary is up there.
That was my heart talking, fellas.
It's one of our higher episodes at 109. At 109.
Green Room or Green Knight?
It is neither of those. Green Room sits at 65, which is unfortunate. More people should go watch that movie. Please go see Green Room. That's incredible. And then, go check out a review. That is a one micer. Fair warning, that is a one micer episode. That's like episode 6 or something like that. The Green Knight is. I gotta find it now. There it is. Green Knight is at 55. Also a great movie. Go check that out. That is a mixer episode. You don't have to worry about the audio quality there. That's a good one. That's a safe one. That's a safe space. That episode's a safe space.
I don't know. Did anyone say Dunkirk? That's got to be up there. That's Nolan.
No one said Dunkirk. Dunkirk is at 64 downloads. Is not number 5.
Is it Requiem?
No
way. It is
way.
In fact Requiem for
a Dream. Is it really? Wow.
It is. Requiem for a Dream. Let me see if I can find it again. Is at 131.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And then so that's I guess the 4th most downloaded. I'll stop here at number 5 because it's the most interesting one that we have here. Number 5.
Where's it in the Entropy list? Where's it fall?
Let me
23.
Give you.
I just checked. It's 23.
Yeah, Requiem is at 23. The one that's number 5.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, you're good. You're good. Thank you for clarifying, by the way. Yeah, that's at 23. I gotta find it here first. What does the movie poster even look like? I usually don't look at them in this view. I look at them in the list view. Holy crap! I can't. Oh, there it is. Okay. I will tell you that it is below 70.
King of Monsters?
It is not King of Monsters. King of Monsters is...
Or I meant Godzilla vs. Kong.
Okay, Godzilla vs. Kong. It is not that one. King of Monsters has 61, and Godzilla vs. Kong has 63. Again, that's not including YouTube views. Don't know how many those are at.
Is it Trick or Treat?
It is not Trick or Treat.
Fuck.
Trick or Treat is at 58. Also unfortunate. Really solid movie. I'd recommend it, but it made
Fast 9.
April. It is in fact Fast 9, Blake.
I figured.
Fast
Once I started
9.
looking, I was like, yeah, that's a huge franchise.
Yep. Fast 9 was the 5th most downloaded episode at 122. 122 downloads, and that shot up there relatively quickly.
That makes sense.
After that episode,
yeah, that was such a.
That was the first like big release.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Too, if I remember.
That's exactly what I was gonna say.
One of them, yeah.
It was like that was
when was that?
That was one of the first ones people were like going back out to the movies for. The movies.
Yeah.
The movies.
What's the release date on that? What was that? Was that like
July?
We released that episode July 29th of 2021. I believe it released on like the 26th or 25th.
Yeah. I was gonna say it was either spring 2021 or summer, but yeah, July sounds right. So summer.
Or sorry, I June. Sorry, my mistake.
Okay.
June
Nonetheless,
29th is when that episode debuted, so it must have released June 26th.
Yeah, somewhere in there.
Yeah, really close to July.
Well,
yeah, it's been our top 5 so far. We are at almost 100 episodes. Well, sorry, not we are at 100 episodes, and I'm gonna round this up to 7,000. We're at 6,932 downloads.
Oh yeah, that's
7,032 downloads. So when you include the YouTube views, we're at 7K, baby, which is awesome. That's not a huge number. I mean, it is in total. When you look at 100 episodes, that's an average of about 70 an episode, obviously. And for what that is, that's fucking incredible to me, because we started this with absolutely no expectations, and I expected it to go nowhere and have no one listening. And like, yes, an average of 70 people an episode isn't great, like isn't amazing, isn't getting us stardom, or we're not making any money off of this. Honestly, we have to pay Buzzsprout to distribute the podcast. We're losing money. Yeah, we're losing money doing this podcast until we find a way to monetize it. Regardless, 70 is still awesome to have, especially with how hard it is to kind of grow an audio only podcast, because we haven't been able to do video yet. It's been great because we have a steady base of viewers that tune in every week. I'm never really worried too much about seeing an episode that doesn't do 50, 60 views or downloads. Like, the fact that there are that many people listening week to week is awesome. And those of you who do, really appreciate you coming by week to week. And for those of you who come by for every once in a while, an episode where we're reviewing a movie you finally have seen or wanted to see, and then you saw it pop up in your Spotify or Apple Podcasts, and you decided to click on it, listen, or you saw it in your YouTube feed or saw it on Twitter, whatever it ends up being, you just come by for that one episode. Like, we do appreciate you coming back. We appreciate you listening, whether it's your first time, your 100th time. This has been a lot of fun. It's something we plan to continue doing. The viewership isn't necessarily what we do it for. It really isn't. We just have a great time shooting the shit every week, catching up with each other and getting, to watch do this little movie book club, if you will. Because, it's just a once a week thing to kind of do with you guys. So we are looking to grow that number in the future, and we'd really like to do so. And I've got some ideas going forward on how we can. And so we'll get to that when we have the time and resources to do it. I currently don't. And once I do, I think we'll start to see that growth. But for now, like I said, thank you everybody who's been listening these past 100 episodes. It means so much that you guys want to listen to us, because starting this, I was thinking, while it'd be fun, who cares about our thoughts on movies? We're 4 guys who worked at a Best Buy together and shot the shit when things were slow for 3 months during the summer. And we had nothing to do but just talk to each other, and most of the time we were just talking about movies. and we turned that into a podcast. I was like, I don't know, well, I think that's a good idea. I don't know if anyone is going to listen. The fact that from day one and until now, a year and a half, year and 9 months later, 100 episodes later, the fact that we have still a core group of listeners and an intermittent core that comes in and out, like, that's awesome. So thank you guys so much, and thank you three for joining me with this and doing it with me, because it was kind of just a dumb idea I had, and I was bored during quarantine and wanted something to do, and I've listened to podcasts since I was 13 and wanted to start one, and I was just like, I'd love to start it with you guys, and I love those conversations we had, and so thank you guys for coming along with me.
No problem, bro. It's been a fun ride.
It was awesome when you reached out. I think we were all pretty much game. So yeah, dude, it was a great idea. 4 brains came together too and put it in motion. So yeah, it's awesome, man. And now it's really cool to kind of see that come to salvation, and also like see like our friends and stuff. Or like I've now met some of your friends, Ty and Nathaniel, for that point.
Yep.
And it's always cool too. Where like now we're the people where like somebody watches a movie, they're like, hey, like you should review this movie, or like they watch a movie and it's like, hey, like, what do you feel about this movie, or how do you feel about this movie? So like, it's nice to see that people like value your opinion on certain things. It's dope, man.
We're well on our way to middling internet success.
D-list internet success. Do you guys have anything you guys would like to kind of share or anything like that? I talked for a while. I don't know if I summed it up for you guys. Have you guys anything I didn't touch on?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think you pretty much nailed all of my thoughts. Obviously, it's been crazy doing everything, but no one I'd rather be doing it with than you 4. Obviously, Craig and Jirac are in there as well too, but the squadron remains strong. So thankful for that we've been able to do this, and thank you for everyone who listens to this.
Yeah, for sure. I kind of released my thoughts earlier, but yeah, I'm more than thankful for, first and foremost, more than thankful for meeting you guys, right? So like that's super cool. I'm also glad that we put this podcast together, because at that time, that was during COVID, where I was no longer at Best Buy. I don't know if Adam was either, or I don't know how this friendship. Yeah, so right, for example, so was I.
Those $1,400 checks, baby. Yeah,
So,
missed that.
Yeah, different time, right? Yeah, different time.
Sat on my ass and got paid $700 a week. Gotta love it.
But yeah, so I definitely appreciate it for putting this together too, because that was also something to allow me to continue a friendship with the 3 of you, where not working there in the store anymore, like that, realistically, that may have faded, right?
Yeah, 100%.
So yeah, that's another reason I'm definitely thankful for the podcast too, because you guys are.
We would have stayed in touch, and yeah, because we would have stayed in touch, and I came by during when I wasn't working, I would come by and
for sure
say hi to everybody and stuff like that. But
too,
I wasn't.
Sure.
I was probably coming back, but I wasn't like 100%. And like, I went to school, didn't know if I was going to come back for holidays, that kind of thing. I didn't know what the situation was going to be like after COVID, if they would have a spot for me, because they cut back the number of employees the store could have, they cut back the hours, all that stuff. And while we would have probably kept in touch, it wouldn't have been like this, where we've become really good friends, and
right.
That definitely would have faded, like you said. And it's great to catch up with you guys each week. Definitely consider you guys some of my best friends, and that's because of this. Because we were good friends, and really good friends because of Best Buy, but we really mainly saw each other there, and this has allowed us to kind of expand upon that, and that's awesome.
Sure, man.
Yeah, I mean, you guys kind of all said everything, and I just want to say thanks. It's been pretty crazy, and I guess we'll see where everything goes. I'm retiring. I'm out. No, it's been a fun little wild ride, and I'm very appreciative, very thankful for you guys and the listeners, for sure.
Yeah. And that being said, I'm really excited for the future. Like I said, I do have some ideas on where we can take this and how we can grow. Once I have the time and we have the resources to do so, I'd love to do it. It's realistically not until I am out of school and we don't have to do this remote every week that we can grow this a little bit more. And that's still a while down the road. And there's some things I want to talk to you guys about that we can do remote. And then once I get back there, we can kind of kick this into a higher gear. And I've kept this personal to me kind of, but I've been kind of seeing these last 100 episodes and the ones we'll do further as just kind of a warm up. Like I said, like we hadn't done anything like this before we started the podcast. Me and Ty Twitch streamed. That was the extent of my like entertaining and talking and that kind of thing. And this is way different than that. And so we've just grown as talkers and entertainers in that way. And it's funny to say that because it's like we only do a very small podcast, but I still feel like we've each grown in that way. And like we will use the skills we've learned in these past 100 episodes going forward to really make some much better content. And I'm very excited for what that holds.
Sure, man.
All right. Well, if nobody else has anything to say about our little episode 100 here, we can get into the review.
Should we say the favorite movie we've done on the podcast so far?
Oh yeah, we can do that. Yeah, definitely. Or maybe like we could do like ones that are underrated or ones that are snubbed on the Entropy list, something like that. Whatever you guys want to do.
I'll just say, like, yeah, I think looking back on it and kind of looking at the Entropy list real quick, like, I think the experience of watching Your Name was really, really great, where, like, Adam came over and, like, I got to show him that movie that he had no idea about, like, going into it. Same with Green Room, too. Like, those have definitely been some of my favorite moments on the podcast. And kind of looking back on things that we did together, like making you watch Evangelion and End of Eva as well, too.
Yeah.
Even though it's not on the list or anything, but, yeah, that was awesome as well. So yeah, I think those are mine. Probably Your Name and Green Room on there, just as like good experiences that we had.
Definitely, yeah. Because the Your Name story is, for everyone who wasn't kind of listening back then, because that episode was a while ago now too, over a year ago. I came home for Thanksgiving break, and me and Nathaniel both had a Tuesday off, and I was looking to hang with any of you guys if you guys were available, and I think Ty and Blake were working that day. But Nathaniel was like, I'm free if you just want to come over, chill, and we'll watch a movie or whatever. So I did, and Nathaniel, I get to his apartment, and he's laid out 5 movies for me that he has on DVD. He's like, "Have you seen any of these?" And I was like, "No, I have not. I heard of only like one of them. I think it was The Thing was the only one I'd heard of. Maybe there was one other one that I heard of. I think it was what were the movies, Nathaniel? Do you remember? It was The Thing, Ichimama Tamiyan, which we later reviewed, Your Name, and there were 2 other ones there was one monster movie, like Spanish monster movie.
It was Spring.
I think there was, I don't know if it was those 4, or if there was a 5th one.
Yeah, there might have been Everybody Wants Some or something like that too, like a sports movie or something.
Yeah, it's maybe something like that. So it was those movies. He was like, pick one of these, and we're just gonna watch it. And I almost picked the monster movie, the Spanish monster movie one, but then I went back to Your Name, and I was like, there's something calling me to this one. Like, I don't know what it is. I have no idea what it's about. I've seen anime movies, but like at that time, especially, like, would never consider myself a huge anime person. Like, I like anime, but I'm not like this huge anime guy. But I was like, let's just throw this on. This seems like there's something about this that's calling me. And I put it on and absolutely fell in love with the movie. Ended up going back, went back to school after Thanksgiving break. Instantly bought it on Apple TV, showed it to everyone I could, watched it about 6 times in the span of 3 or 4 weeks, and have seen it. That is definitely the movie I've seen the most in the shortest amount of time. Sure. I think I watched that movie 10 times in the span of 3 months or something like that, just showing to new people or just watching on my own. And that went on to when I came home for winter break, you showed me Weathering with You.
Mm-hmm.
Which Back Row Banter also graciously gifted me with a hard copy of. So we went and watched that together later on. So that was definitely a really special one for me. The Green Room story is also funny, where we were supposed to review Greyhound for episode 6 or 7.
Yeah, that was supposed to be the Tom Hanks movie. That's right.
Yeah, we were supposed to review Greyhound, which came to Apple TV only.
When none of us had
this is
it.
episode 4.
Yeah.
This is episode 4. Because we wanted to review new movies. That was kind of the idea, because we knew we were gonna have to go back and backlog movies, and we've done a mix of both since then. Because there's not a new movie every week that we want to review. And it's fun to go back and watch movies that one of us hasn't seen that we want to show everybody, or one that we just like really like and want to talk about, that kind of thing. And so we were going to review Greyhound, and then I get to Nathaniel's apartment. He's got a Sony TV, and there's no Apple TV Plus app on there.
Yep.
And he don't know if we couldn't airplay it or we couldn't figure out how to get Apple TV Plus. We were like, fuck it, we're calling an audible. We're not doing Greyhound. We texted Blake and Tyler, like, just so you guys know, we're not doing this. And kind of did something similar where he's like, he went to his movie shelf, which of course, as you can imagine, the humble brag master's degree guy has a bountiful movie shelf. And he goes, have you seen this? Hands me Green Room. And I'm like, no, what is this? Patrick Stewart? Like, I've never even heard of this. Why is he on the cover? Like, what is this? He goes, I'm not even gonna say what it's about. We're just gonna watch it. I was like, okay. And 90 minutes later, it's one of my favorite movies that we've reviewed, and one of my favorite movies that I'd love to like recommend to people because it's one really I don't think a lot of people have seen, but it's one more people should see, and it's a great thrill and everything like that. That's another great memory for sure, Nathaniel. So that's definitely a good one to bring up. Blake, Ty, you guys got any like special memories or movies that you guys want to kind of bring up?
For me, it's really just how much I've come to appreciate horror films in general.
Same. Yeah.
You know, it's something that I wasn't like a freak about them, but like, you know, if somebody was like, "Yo, let's go watch a horror movie," I'd be like, "All right, cool, bet. I don't give a shit." But yeah, I think, you know, just based on how much we've done, I've really grown to have a little bit more of a passion for it, which is pretty cool because it's not something that I probably would have thought myself getting into.
And I think Blake's on a break at the moment.
A lot of good stuff on here.
Nope, that's pausing for station identification, folks. This here is KYOT, the Coyote Smooth Jazz.
La, da, 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 da.
Just finished. Go ahead.
But yeah, I think you know, one of the other things that, you know, I kind of really hold very high regards for is Pan's Labyrinth, and that's something that is just always gonna hold a special place in my heart. That movie is ridiculous. And then the only other one that, like, you know, really sticks out other than, you know, the Frozen stuff and my Disney things is Starship Troopers, man.
Yeah,
it's a fairly recent one, but that is a movie that will just time and time again exceed almost everyone's expectations in so many different aspects of that one film. And it's something that, you know, like I said when we reviewed it, was that a couple weeks ago?
Yeah, 2 or 3.
2 weeks. That was episode 98.
It's something that I grew up with, and I've been able to look at it in different variations of me growing up and how I look at films and things of that nature. And it was really great.
Definitely, yeah. That movie surprised me by a lot, like a ton. Like I've always heard of that movie, never knew what it was about, and going into it, I had like the mixed expectation of, all right, is this gonna be like why it was more like, why does everyone think this is so good? Because
it's always
really cheesy.
It's always hard when you get the overhype factor, and you know, it's funny because the people that do hype it up, I think there was at least one point where we were at work and I looked at Nathaniel and he looked at me and I'm like, I hope we didn't overhype, you know, because it can be detrimental. And I think I could just overhype that movie, and I don't think I'll ever be able to hype it up enough.
I don't think you can. Yeah, that was one. It definitely lived up to the expectations that I set for it and exceeded them, honestly, which is hard to do nowadays because you get your hopes up for so many movies that don't come and or that fail your expectations, that it's kind of tough sometimes.
Well, so much of movie reviewing is managing your own expectations for stuff, I think.
Sure.
As we've discovered on the pod.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Definitely. I would ask Blake what his is, but he actually is away from the mic right now. I don't know what he's doing, but I can give mine really quick.
Is he watching Midsommar?
No, that's The Witch.
The Witch in the background.
Oh, okay.
But there's kind of two for me that kind of go hand in hand. I would say one of them is the Fast and Furious franchise, which I had never seen any of them.
Yeah, man, that was fun. That same day we got you fucking encased in F1.
And that was exactly. That was the part 2 of that. is me and Tyler. This was a day over the summer of last year, towards the summer of 2021, where another day where it was like, oh, you want to come over hang out at my new place, because Tyler had just moved out of Back Row HQ into his own place with his girlfriend. And I was like, yeah, I'm down. I had nothing to do that day. And so I head on over and we put on Army of the Dead, which was the podcast review for the week. So we watched that together. And, I went over there pretty early, like 2 or 3. And so we finished that and we still had plenty of time left in the day. And he was like, have you seen any of the Fast and Furious? He's like, you haven't seen any of the Fast movies, right? And I was like, nope. And Fast 9 was coming up pretty soon. So we put on Fast Furious 1. And so that was an experience to watch that. That was a great time. Really enjoyed that. And then that finished up, and then he was like, you got it. This was shortly after you'd finished Drive to Survive, right, Ty?
Yes.
Yeah. So he's like, he'd already talked about it on pod. And I already kind of, piqued my interest, especially after Nathaniel picked it up. And so, he put on episode 1 of Drive to Survive, and I was kind of hooked. I was like, wow, this is actually, not only does it like look incredible visually, but like I could get into the storytelling that they got going. And while I don't really understand what's happening, I'm still like very interested in the way that they're kind of constructing this. And so, less than 3 weeks later, I'd finished all 3 seasons. And yeah, that was that. And now I watch every race every weekend, and I have, I think, $20 on Charles to win the world championship. So yeah, we'll see where that goes. But yeah, that was kind of the history of the Fast and F1. That was another good time for sure. Blake, do you have any specific movie or memory?
Or memory? Specific movie. I mean, it was, obviously I'm a huge horror guy, so Hereditary was, I know that was kind of my one to put on there. And I think if I remember correctly, that was Ty's first time watching too.
Yeah.
When we did the review as well as yours. So that was like something cool to kind of have you guys introduced to. And at that time, I know Adam wasn't on a big horror kick either. It's like, that's one of those movies where it's like, I wonder how you're going to feel about this. Like, not really aware of the horror genre and kind of things of the nature, because it's just tonally different. But I think you guys both took it really well. So that was something that was definitely near and dear to me to kind of get that on there. As well as the first February we did, when we kind of did the Black History dump on there, and getting you guys introduced to like Paid in Full, Boys in the Hood.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, so like that was stuff cool. That was cool to me too, because those are all movies that I just kind of grew up on, from my brother showing me, my dad showing me, or you go to your friend's house and he's got a brother playing something. Like, those are just the movies that I grew up watching. So it was really cool to kind of introduce you guys to those too, and get your opinions on those. So I would say those are kind of my big takeaways.
Awesome. Yeah. Some notable mentions for me are also Your Name, which we talked about. That was fun to get on the pod, because that we were showing Nathaniel and Tyler that movie, and I had already talked for 3 weeks straight how I've been watching it constantly, and so I was excited to get into that, and I was like nervous that Blake and Ty weren't gonna like it as much, and they both ended up liking it a lot. And then 9 Days. 9 Days was a great one to get to, especially on the pod, because that was one I saw the trailer of before the Green Knight, and then was interested in watching it. And then Blake brought it up on what we're watching. He went and saw it. And I was like, oh, yeah, I did really want to go see that movie. And now that Blake has said it's awesome, I'm like, all right, I definitely got to go check it out. I check it out, come back the next week, same exact review. Like, holy shit, this movie is incredible. Like, this is one of my favorite movies that's been released pretty recently. And we finally got on the pod to later on to show Nathaniel and Ty, and then having them have that same experience of, oh shit, this actually movie is really good, and it really resonates with, I feel like, a lot of what the four of us kind of embody with like positive outlooks and everything like that.
Right. That
was a great one.
No, you're definitely right, and I think that turnaround was pretty quick, if I remember correctly. Like, I want to say I saw that on like release week. Then I'm sure you got to it probably the week after. Maybe
it was a while before we got on a pod, actually. That release,
oh, really? It was a few months?
Yeah, it was, because that released in June or July of last summer of 2021. At least it's wide release. I still think it's considered a 2021 movie on its IMDb, but its wide release was in the summer of 2021. because I remember seeing it while I was still at home. And then we didn't do the review until February of this year. When it was on. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I
Yeah,
thought that was
just
much
only a
shorter
few months
time
ago.
frame.
Yeah, it was a short time frame for me and you to see it, but it took a while for us to get it back around on pod.
Yeah.
There was a bunch of stuff coming out around the same time as that movie that we just decided to review instead. There was like 3 weeks in a row that we saw, 3 or 4 weeks in a row that we saw new movies and reviewed new movies every week. So we just didn't have time to like squeeze that in. So that's the main reason that we didn't get it reviewed when it released or wide released. So. Oh man, it's been awesome, man. This has been so much fun every week. I can't wait to keep going.
With that in mind, should we talk about the Northman?
I would love to. Let's keep her going. Let's keep her going, Nathaniel. Welcome, listeners, to the main review segment of the podcast. Nathaniel, if the listener here is new, or maybe if they just forgotten after 100 episodes of how a review segment works, can you give them a rundown?
I sure can. What's up, folks? If you are new, or perhaps you've just forgotten after 100 episodes, the way our review segment works is like this. There's 2 different sections of the review segment. There's the non-spoiler section and then the spoiler section. In the non-spoiler section, we'll go over the plot summary. Basically, it's IMDb page and our first initial reactions, and we'll decide if we have to recommend this movie. It's got to be a yes or no answer. There is no nuance on the internet. From then on, it'll be spoiler time. We'll go into our deeper thoughts of the movie. But if you don't want to have anything spoiled for you, do pay attention because we're going to mark it in the show notes. And we'll play the spoiler sound and come back later and see where it ranks up on our Entropy list, completely spoiler-free. And, yeah. Adam, tell me about The Northman for episode 100.
Would love to. This is a new movie, of course, released this year, released just last weekend, rated R, with a runtime of 2 hours and 17 minutes and an IMDb rating of 7.9 out of 10, which is a pretty solid rating for IMDb. It is directed by Robert Eggers and written by Robert Eggers, with another writers credited as, I'm going to say his name is Sion. There's no R, but he's an Icelandic author, it says. So I'm assuming he was mostly referenced for translating the story into an authentic Viking and Icelandic culture and dialogue, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
That's what I'm gonna assume there. Starring Alexander Skarsgård, Nicole Kidman, Claes Bang, Ethan Hawke, Anya Taylor-Joy, Gustav Lind, Elliot Rose, Willem Dafoe. I think I'll stop just about there unless I'm missing anyone notable, Nathaniel.
Bjork.
Bjork. Have we done something with Bjork?
No, she's a singer.
Okay.
And an actress, but yeah, she's mostly known as a singer.
Because I know her, but I was like, where do I know her from?
Yeah.
But yeah.
What's the I'm sorry, cut you off. Go ahead, Ed.
No, you go ahead.
The gentleman's name, the gentleman who's the lead in The Witch, alongside Anya Taylor-Joy. He's in there as well.
Ralph Ineson.
Top of my head.
Yeah.
Yeah. That sounds right.
Yeah, he plays the sailor at the end.
Yep.
Okay. I didn't even notice that. I haven't seen The Witch in a long time, so.
Yeah,
there you have it.
That caught my attention ASAP. But yeah,
pretty solid cast though.
Absolutely.
A lot of good actors in here, and the acting is one of the highlights of the film. The IMDb summary reads as follows: From visionary director Robert Eggers comes The Northman, an action-filled epic that follows a young Viking prince on his quest to avenge his father's murder. Yep. Murder. Great summary. Love it.
Feels like it fills in.
Yeah. What more do you need?
That's true.
It's a Viking revenge story. That's the only way I could put it any shorter. The way you said, by the way, murder reminded me of Willem Dafoe going, "It's bad luck to kill a seabird" in The Lighthouse. It's bad luck to kill a seabird.
Oh, bad luck to kill a seabird.
Anyway, that's your IMDb summary, guys. We had high expectations for this movie.
We did,
as it's Robert Eggers' third feature film.
Mm-hmm.
The Witch and The Lighthouse being his first two, both that we are, I assume, and I'm pretty sure all very good fans of. The Lighthouse for sure, as we just reviewed that last week. And I think, have we all seen The Witch?
Yeah, I have not.
Yeah, Tyler hasn't.
Yeah, that was the only outlier I was thinking is Tyler might not have seen.
I'm not a fucking liar. I just told you the truth.
Okay, sorry, it might have been Discord delay or Discord.
I heard you say outlier.
So yeah, we had pretty high hopes for this because Eggers has obviously with his first two films batted pretty well. You know, we really enjoy those. They are fantastic period pieces for what they are. They also look incredible. The acting is incredible. Dialogue is authentic, which is a pro and con because it does a good job for the story. Without subtitles, it can be hard to understand, and in the case of The Witch, impossible to understand for the most part. So we were pretty excited for this. Where are you guys landing after actually seeing it?
Yeah, I think I've seen it twice, actually. So first kind of reveal. I saw it once on Friday, and then I saw it again yesterday, actually. And overall, pretty positive, I would say. I think for me personally, this definitely feels like his most studio, version of kind of his movies so far, but definitely compared to The Witch and The Lighthouse, this definitely feels
it's got the biggest budget.
Yeah, easily. Yeah,
you can tell.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it definitely feels like the most kind of. It's weird to say restrained, but especially because like this movie's just full of just revenge and R-rated violence and everything.
That's why I wanted to give you air quotes before you said anything.
Yeah,
I had an idea of what you were going for, but
it's hard. It's weird to say this movie is restrained, but it is more restrained than like The Witch and certainly The Lighthouse. So yeah, I'm definitely overall positive. Overall, recommend. I'll let some other guys talk now.
I'll follow it up. I like the movie, right? There's no way around it. I mean, but I also went into this pretty much guaranteeing that I was going to like the movie, just knowing it's going to be about Robert Eggers.
And it had Anya Taylor-Joy, so you're already obviously immediate sign off.
And it had Anya Taylor-Joy, right? So those were kind of the pushing points of why I wanted to see this first. I saw the trailer, I was like, oh, that looks good. Then I realized it was Robert Eggers, and then I saw Anya Taylor-Joy, and I was like, you know what? I'm in. But yeah, overall, really good movie. It's crafted well. Cinematography is awesome. Story's good. This is definitely Robert Eggers, in my opinion, most quote unquote like commercial film to date.
Yep.
And it's definitely, I always use the term of like palatable to the masses. But like this is 100% Robert Eggers' most palatable to the masses film.
I would agree.
In my opinion. So I think
Definitely.
that has it going for it. Movie's not perfect by any means, though. It's not my favorite Robert Eggers film. I would go on record to say that, but still, yeah, very good. So, yeah, we can deep dive into it. But yeah, those are my thoughts, real quick.
Ty?
Yeah, I thought this was pretty good. I thoroughly enjoy Viking-esque things. So
probably the biggest Viking fan on pod. Not the football team, of course.
Yeah, I would say, definitely not the football team. Fuck those guys. Green Bay all day. Go Pack Go. 4 more years. Anyways, I figured that one might get you.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, it did.
But yeah, I thought it was pretty good. It stays definitely along the lines of where that time period is. I think it was acted very well. It moves at a okay pace. I think that might be one of the only things that might be a little detrimental to this, but we can definitely talk about that as we kind of get further in. But yeah, I mean, it looks really, really good. I love pretty much anything that you get that where you get to use the natural landscape, and you get to have a really good set where you're at on location versus trying to get a green screen or some kind of. We like practical effects, ladies and gentlemen. That's all there is to it.
It was filmed in Ireland.
Yep.
So Northern Ireland, which is around the area that the film takes place, obviously.
Yeah.
But other than that, yeah, I thought it was pretty good, and I enjoyed myself.
Nice. We talked about the expectations, and I just might have set them too high. I enjoyed this movie. I think it is a good movie. Was just a little let down personally as I came out of the theater, and honestly was kind of sour on the movie when I came out of the theater, and the more I thought about it, the more I started to enjoy it. Oh, and I will mention this, did see it with Papa Schwartz, who visited me last weekend.
Nice.
And he got to go to my favorite theater in the world, the Ragtag Cinema here in Columbia, Missouri. So we went and saw it opening night with people this time. I finally saw a screening there with other people. And the crowd was interesting, but I won't say too much more about that. Anyway, came out of the theater a little sour. I was like just disappointed because I was expecting, this being his third movie. He's got the first two kind of to base it off of, or to practice on, if you will, or build up a little bit of his skill and what he wants and everything like that. And he's got a bigger budget, a fantastic cast. Seems like the story's going to be incredible. And coming out of it, I just, it didn't hit the way I wanted it to. And then the next day, and as time went on, I was as close.
Whoa, Adam, you just got really robotic for a second. Was that anyone else?
Uh-oh.
Anyone else getting that?
I did. Yeah, I did not hear it.
Okay.
Hello?
Yeah, you're good now.
Oh, I apologize.
No, you're good.
All right. Anyway,
yeah.
So
yeah,
you're good. We got to make sure audio is great. Like I said, I don't want to revert to episode 0.
It was only like the last 5 seconds.
Okay, good. I don't want to get to 100 and go back to square one. All right, we got 100 in the books. We're not going backwards. Anyway, day after, I was like, just kind of accepted it for what it was, and what it is a solid movie. Definitely, like you guys said, his most approachable movie to a wider audience, and I think that serves a lot. That's a good thing, because more people should want to go see Edgar films, because I think he's worth watching. But the other two movies aren't very approachable to like casual movie watchers, and so the fact that this is a little bit more digestible is a really good thing. But is not just the movie I was hoping it for, and that's okay. They can't all be 10 out of 10s. They can't all be mind blowers. Not every director is going to hit every single time, and it's not that this didn't even hit. Like it's still good. It's still a good movie. It just did not hit as well as I wanted to, and that's okay. I am still a recommend though. Please go see this movie. It's a lot of fun. I think you'll enjoy yourself, especially if you like the Vikings kind of setting. Even if you don't, there's still a good story to be told with that. And don't, as I mentioned earlier, don't let that dialogue thing scare you on this one, because while The Witch is almost unintelligible without subtitles, and The Lighthouse is aided by subtitles but not required, this one I was able to get by really well without subtitles. I think if you can find a subtitle screening, it'll still do you better, but it's not required at all, and I think that's intentional in this one, because this is actually the earliest timepiece he's done. Like, this is what, 210 BCE or something like that.
895 it starts at.
95, sure. So he could have gone full, archaic English or whatever it would have been, that kind of thing, or but it's much more approachable while still kind of staying true to that kind of language and that accent, or harsher dialect, whatever you want to call it. So it's good on that front as well. All right, I think that's a recommend all around.
For sure.
4 recommends.
Yeah. I will say, though, I did text the group chat after leaving the theater. I have thoughts. We're going to get into those thoughts. So if you have not seen The Northman and do not want it spoiled for you, go ahead, check that episode description where I've left a timestamp you can jump to, where you'll be taking to our ranking of the movie up upon the Entropy list. Spoilers.
Shit goes down.
Goes down.
It certainly does.
For 2 hours and 17 minutes. And that's a long time, and I felt that in this movie.
Yeah. You shot us the text right after that. Is that your biggest complaint with the movie?
It is, but it isn't, because my biggest complaint with the movie is that the runtime is a consequence of my biggest complaint of the movie, which is it just felt like there was a lot of fat that could have been trimmed off. At least to me personally, there's a lot. It does drag quite a bit between that first act and the third. It did, for me at least, it dragged incredibly, and there's just a lot there that I felt like could either have been tightened or could have been cut out altogether to make this a little bit more refined. And while I'm not mad that like we got everything we did, I feel like it just would have served the movie a little bit better if we just got to where we knew we were going quicker.
Right.
Because there's just a lot added to it that didn't feel necessary, and it felt like a lot of the plot, as far as like, oh, you got to kill him with X sword and it can only be used at X time, and there's more things to that, but like there's just seemed to be like almost artificial plot points in the movie to just delay his revenge quest, when I feel like in reality, like he was with what was the character's name again? Fjolnir. He was with Fjolnir for most of this movie after coming back.
Time.
Yeah, and to me it was just like, well, I understand, it can't just be, oh, he's gonna go back into slave and assassinate him the first chance he gets. I don't want that, obviously, but the fact that there was so much in between that was just a little frustrating for me, because I just started to feel that runtime, especially towards the middle, and the movie's not gonna flow super well all the times, and there's got to be details that can be added to make the ending more impactful, all of that stuff for sure. But there's just too much of that, and they felt like they artificially slowed it down for some reason when it just could have been picked up a little bit. That was kind of my biggest thing.
Fair enough. I mean, I think for me, the first time I saw it, I kind of felt that a little bit. The second time I saw it, I do feel like I did not have that same experience as much too. And I went into this pretty blind. It wasn't until like afterwards that I felt compelled a little bit to do a little bit more research on it. And in kind of that process, I read an interview with Robert Eggers, and he kind of talking about how in his kind of version of it, he wanted to craft the world so you have a better understanding of it. And he was like, for Vikings, and I think Tyler and I actually talked about this a little bit more after we saw it too, the kind of religious life and their daily life were always mixed, whereas we live in a very secular society now in which like you go to church or you don't, but it's still like always, we have the idea of separation of church and state, and that's pretty important and all that kind of stuff. But their religion and their kind of influence with, nature and the drugs they were taking and all of that kind of stuff was very much an everyday occurrence and very much more kind of tied together with it. So I think that really kind of helped me, kind of orient my thought process for the second viewing. But then I also found out that which if you do a little bit of kind of research and you are, you've maybe done some English study in your time, this is the saga or great epic poem that Hamlet is based off of, that eventually became Hamlet. And, even the Alexander Skarsgård's character's name is Amleth, and it's very much kind of a central plot line to that. And that kind of idea of a great saga helped me on the second viewing not feel like that runtime as much, because it actually reminded me a lot of The Green Knight, in which you have like in that movie and in this one too, you have the idea of the quest, and the quest is how you organize the plot too. So those moments of where going to find the sword or all of that, or meeting with the he witch and everything, I felt like were a little bit more natural feeling than maybe the first time I watched it. So just in kind of like not necessarily a contrast, but a comparison to kind of your point on how you're feeling, Adam.
Sure, and that's fair. And I haven't done the research, but I've wanted to. I just haven't gotten around to it.
Yeah.
But I did. I was kind of familiar with the Hamlet story, and as I was watching, I was like, oh, this is Hamlet.
Sure.
Like I'm watching the Hamlet, and I haven't read it, and don't know the details of the story, but I kind of knew the outline of it. So I thought that was interesting that it was translated into that, but I didn't know that it was that's actually the original story it was based off of. So that's actually kind of interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, it's Hamlet's one of my all-time favorites. It's fucking awesome. If you've never seen Hamlet, everyone should go watch it. But anyways,
So yeah, I haven't seen that. My bad to cut you off.
No,
on that,
you're
so
good.
I haven't seen Hamlet, but just kind of doing some research on it after I watched it, I kind of came to that same conclusion. But I mean, for the most part, I mean, I think I'm with Adam. Where I don't know. I guess how I would word it is, I feel like there were several times this movie could have come to an end, or could have come to a complete stop, and it still would have been a good film, right? So I think the ending battle is awesome, though. Absolutely. So that's shot well and everything too, as well as the decapitation. But there's just a few times where it's kind of just like, I don't know. So like eventually when you see Alex Skarsgård's characters come back, it's like, hey, like I'll trade you her life for the heart. And then you're like, okay, like I think we may be getting somewhere. And then like that's the end of that scene, and then it goes to a whole nother scene. Yeah. I'm like kind of like, well, that sucks. Like they should have did more of that, and like that should have been the build up, in my opinion, to the end of the film.
Sure.
And then they do it again, where he goes in, then he ends up killing his mother, played by Nicole Kidman, and as well as his half brother, right? And then it's like, well, I'll see you at the gates of hell, and then it goes to another scene. Yeah. Granted, that scene is awesome, but that's something you would assume, like, okay, like maybe we should kind of just like square this off right now. So yeah, I'm with you. There's about 2 or 3 times where I feel like it probably could have come to an end, I should say, but still overall it's good. Those are really my only complaints, but it does run a little long. I mean, I've been on here complaining about movies for 2+ hours, for quite some time, and this movie is 2+ hours, so feel it a little bit.
Ty?
Yeah, I mean, my biggest thing's probably just the middle section that we're all kind of talking about. Pretty much the point where he essentially fakes being a slave and trying to get to this island or wherever they are for revenge. That's just kind of where it just kind of goes into a little bit of a slope, and it definitely slows down a little bit. And then you get these kind of brief moments of action, but you don't always get to see the action, which kind of sucks. They always kind of, it's kind of like the typical like, oh yeah, like they just had sex because he's smoking a cigarette. Like they show you really good, they show you everything, and then they're just like, all right, cool, we're not going to show you like everything. So it kind of slows up a little bit, but I mean, the beginning section is awesome, where you get to kind of see him as a kid and how his dad treats him, and that's where he kind of gets this misconception of his dad, because he obviously, everybody has that cool ass image of their dad. Nobody wants to think their dad's a piece of shit. So you get to see how he views him, as a king and a leader, and his dad, and that stuff is really great. And he takes kind of his rite of passage journey, and this is something that Nathaniel and I talked about. There's going to be probably some points in this movie where you're like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
And there's a good chance that it's just a hallucination. It's something that has been wrapped up in the Viking lore quite a bit, and they're like cracked out a lot.
Oh yeah.
They find. Go ahead.
Sorry. Do you know? Isn't there some kind of thing they would eat or drink before battle that would just make them enraged, or like not feel their wounds or something like that?
So that's actually something that you see kind of later with him when they're the wolves dancing around the fire, and they're doing kind of like that ritual. They're probably passing something around for that ritual.
Gotcha.
And whether or not it has any kind of medicinal purposes to, numbing your pain or, whatever it is, I have no idea. Yeah. But they would typically have those rituals. And it's cool because he actually references him as a berserker.
Yeah.
And it's cool because there's like different classes of like Viking fighters and, video games or movie adaptations of stuff like that. And it's cool because they're like, the dude's literally here just to go ape shit. He's got no armor. He's just a big fucking brute of a dude, and he's like the ultimate Viking. Like he was meant to be a king, and it's cool to kind of see all those little aspects. But yeah, they're like the mushrooms are a huge thing in the Viking culture. They literally just go out and find them, and they either just eat them or they brew them, and it's literally just so they can have like these spiritual journeys to see their gods, or have kind of those things to get a little bit closer to the gods. And it's crazy because the Valkyrie scene where he's like flying up, and then it's like, well, that's not real, but like he's just tripping out. And obviously, that was more of him like dying. But every single time that one of those is happening, they're just pretty much tripping out, and you just really don't realize that a lot. And it's a little hard to get that in the movie if you don't already know that kind of about the culture. But I think they played it off pretty well, and I liked pretty much. The gore is also something that I loved.
For sure, yeah.
You know, this time period is just gruesome.
Yeah.
There are no bullets. It's just iron in flesh, and it's just gnarly. And it's cool to see that part too. You get to see where he cuts up his two buddies and he like nails them to the like wall of the fucking
horse.
barn.
Yeah.
And it's in the shape of a horse, I believe.
Yeah, it is.
I don't know what that one specifically symbolizes. Symbology.
What's the symbology there?
But dude, there's like some wild ass like disrespectful ways to kill somebody in that culture as well. You'll hear them referencing about I have to die in battle, or you know, something like that, and that's because they have to go to Valhalla. If you don't die in battle, you basically die in a shameful way, and you just don't ever get to go see.
Well, I thought it's if you don't die with your weapon in your hand, you don't go to Valhalla. Like you're in purgatory, essentially. Like you're a lost soul.
There's a lot of different variations of what the actual rules are. Like there's ones where if you like don't die in battle specifically, you don't go.
Okay.
But yes, if you're also not like buried with your weapon,
sure,
then you also are just kind of like lost. Typically what you'll see is if like your boy dies, you'll take his axe or whatever and you'll go put it on his chest before you go light him on fire.
Got you. Yeah.
So he can die with his stuff.
Yeah, this movie really hammers home that life sucks if you live back then. Like if you're just a normal person, you're always a slave, or you're getting traded to someone else to be a slave. Yeah, like it makes a compelling argument for like, yeah, you need to just be able to commit giant acts of violence. But then like, and we kind of danced around it, but the twist is that makes you a horrible person to other people, and that like not everyone's gonna see it that way. And upon second watching, you can actually hear Nicole Kidman laughing underneath the track of her screaming in the kidnap scene at the start.
Do you notice that?
Yeah,
that's a good catch. That's something.
See if I can peep it. But you can hear her like the high pitches are definitely like screamish, but then there's like underneath it you can kind of hear like in the background after like the big screen's heard like giggling along with it and everything.
Gotcha.
And it's definitely like it's panned so like when he's looking back at her, he's hearing her scream, but then when he like looks away, you can kind of hear the laugh track underneath it and stuff.
That's so smart.
Love that. Yeah, it was very, very interesting, I think, upon a rewatch, all those different things that you definitely catch in there and stuff as well. There's that crazy game that they play, which is just like, like go beat Quidditch, each other up.
Basically, Quidditch, but it's like rugby.
Super lacrosse.
Yeah. Lacrosse kind of too. Yeah. That was a wild scene.
Yeah. And real quick to jump in here before we kind of get to another segment or another scene in the film, when Tyler's talking about the scene where they're in the woods around the campfire, right? And they're taking those hallucinogenics or whatever you want to call them for that time period. That's eerily, in my opinion, how I'm viewing that was eerily similar to how that scene is shot in The Witch, which that's the end of The Witch where she goes there and she's in the forest.
I thought of that too, actually. Yeah,
she's sitting around kind of some fire logs and whatnot. But what I wanted to hone in on that is just that Robert Eggers has a great way of shooting things at nighttime, where a lot of people, we kind of get on here and talk about as well, where a lot of people, when you do movies or when you do a scene at nighttime in movies, like it never looks like how nighttime looks outside, right? For example, it looks like daytime just with like the lights dimmed down.
Yeah.
Where in this movie, it genuinely looks like it's nighttime outside, and that's what makes it look that much better, where you get a more accurate color palette. As well as the fire just being kind of like the main light source. So in my opinion, I think all the scenes at nighttime in this are fucking awesome.
Yeah,
and they almost look black and white sometimes. If there is no light source, if there was no fire, which is almost how things are portrayed in real life. So
that's a great point to bring up, Blake, because as I've like started to work with cameras more for my classes and making things, like the nighttime is hell because you can't.
For sure.
The cameras have such a hard time working in low light, and while there are definitely cameras, and the cameras I'm sure they're using are great in low light, it's still harder than daytime. And then you have to, effectively light it and make sure the shadows look right, because you're only going to have a certain amount of light sources, and so there's automatically going to be shadows cast. Whereas like in the daytime, your lights are offset by other lights coming in, like sunlight and stuff like that. Your shadows are offset from that. So there's a lot to consider there, and it's pretty difficult to do that. And Hollywood has ways around it, of course, methods that are beyond me and my, filmmaking career or whatever it is. So that's a great point that, he is doing something well where he's able to manipulate the camera and lighting enough where it is visible and you can tell what's going on, but it's also, it doesn't look like you said how other nighttime shots look where it's just dimmed down, that kind of thing. So props to Eggers for that, because I don't know how he's doing it, but I want to know.
Definitely.
Tell me. DM me. Hit me up on Twitter.
One more thing, kind of to tail in on that. Not necessarily about the cinematography piece of the film, but just in terms of Willem Dafoe. I love this movie, and I love Willem Dafoe, but I wish there was so much more Willem Dafoe in this. Where like he's in the, I don't know, probably the first 20-30 minutes of the movie, and then when he goes to see the He Witch, and then he's just it's his face. Which I love how Willem Dafoe's face is, it's so distinct that you're going to see the skull and you're like, that's definitely Willem Dafoe.
Right.
So, we need more Willem Dafoe though, man. Yeah, he played a good role.
He's sneakily up on the Entropy list too, I think, nowadays.
He's awesome. He's a good actor.
I remember looking last week. I think this is actually only number 3.
Okay, yeah, because it's Boondock.
It's Boondock Saints, The Lighthouse, and this.
No, Spider-Man.
I don't think there's anything else. And Spider-Man. So 4. Which I think who's the reigning one? It's I think what's her face from Conjuring?
Is it
Vera Farmiga?
Vera Farmiga, yeah.
I'm thinking her or possibly Rebecca Ferguson, because
Ferguson's up there too.
There's
like 2 or 3 that are tied at like 4 or 5. I forgot who they are exactly. But Willem Dafoe climbing his way up.
Yeah.
Let's do Boondock Saints 2 just to give him to number 1. All in favor?
Is he in the second one?
We can find another movie.
Okay.
Fair enough. Actually don't even know if he's in 2. That's how bad 2 is.
Yeah, just do the first John Wick.
95% sure he's not.
We'll get that's another good point, is we haven't gotten any of the John Wicks on here. That's disappointing. God, I love those movies. Yeah, back to the like the mushroom stuff. We made a comparison of how this looks like it's gonna be the witch meets the Green Knight, and when they started tripping and doing, and like they put shrooms in the food for all the guards and everything like that, I was like, oh wow, I wasn't even expecting to get this close to the Green Knight where there's mushroom trips in both of them. That was kind of funny for me when that came up.
Yeah. I think Green Knight is a big point of comparison between these two. To be quite honest with you.
Definitely. This is definitely a more visceral movie, and the stories are very different as well. Where this is obviously a revenge tale, where the Green Knight's more of like a hero's journey. So different tales to be told, but as far as like time periods go, and cinematically, they're different cinematically, but also similar in some ways, where they're very wide landscape shots, just kind of playing with the environment, that kind of thing. Some similar themes though, with as far as like mystical beings of those cultures and that kind of stuff playing in as well.
Agreed.
Yeah. The action, as we said, is awesome. Him catching the javelin and throwing it back, it's in the trailer. And I almost wish
awesome.
I almost wish it wasn't, because if that showed up and I hadn't seen that in the trailer, I would have lost my mind. That is such a cool shot, and I don't know what they're taking around that fire, man, but Jesus, I mean, I might need what they're taking for that Halo tournament this weekend, because holy crap,
it's just
if I can get some of that, I ain't gonna miss.
Yeah, that was a good shot, as well as after that when he's climbing up the wall with a fucking axe. Like, you know how strong you have to be to do that?
Oh my god.
That's like, that takes a lot of strength. And outside of that, Alex Skarsgård, he's fucking jacked for this role.
He's
He had to
ripped.
put on at least 40-something pounds. I would assume.
Yeah, he's ripped.
Yeah.
We haven't talked about Anya Taylor-Joy at all, which is kind of shocking because we're all Anya Taylor-Joy fans, but I think she's really good in this, and I like her character. It's kind of cool that, you know, he's got like that romance. Like that was not something I was expecting in the story. I was expecting her character to be kind of almost like a witch accomplice.
Me too.
In his revenge tale. And
Sure.
that's kind of a little bit what they set up in the trailer. And so the fact that she became a love interest instead while also assisting him in some ways was really cool. And I definitely kind of like that story there where he's technically a prince, but she's a slave, but like it doesn't matter. Like they both, you know, found each other and funny how those things happen. You know, you guys ever pretend to be a slave and then come in and meet the love of your life? I don't know.
All the time.
Weird things happen. Yeah, all the time. I wasn't, because since I haven't seen Hamlet, and maybe Nathaniel, you could confirm for me if this is true or not, but it is was funny for me when he's like, he hears about Fjolnir's how he has slaves now, and then he's like, oh well, doesn't he rule a land on there? He goes, no, the guy from was it Netherlands or Ireland, or I forgot where he was from.
King Harald.
Yeah, he came and took over, and now he's just a chieftain in Iceland. And he goes, oh shit. I was like, oh, so he's going back just to kill him. Like the stakes are taken away in that sense, where he's not coming to reclaim his kingdom. He's just simply getting revenge.
Yeah, he just wants to kill this dude.
He just wants to. He still is just solely seeking revenge. He doesn't care that his you know, his kingdom was lost and that he will no longer have the throne. Like he is simply just out for revenge. That was a really nice touch.
And it's not even like some random dude. It's his uncle.
It's his uncle. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that how it goes in Hamlet?
No, Hamlet's still the fight for the kingdom is still very much a part of it. It's all set in Denmark. There's something rotten in the state of Denmark. And like his dad or his uncle takes over the throne and is ruling there, and Hamlet's just this lost prince trying to, like, he's still at the castle, still like trying to figure out, and he's much more subtle in like how he's gonna try and go after his uncle and everything. But yeah.
Gotcha.
Still ends in a sword fight though, as all good movies do, obviously.
And I don't even know if we really talked about that sword fight enough at the end. That was pretty sick.
That scene's awesome.
That scene's dope because not only is it again shot well, but like it looks cool, and then the actual choreography of the fight's dope.
I think it's like one take.
I was gonna say lots of one shots in this.
Yeah. Lots of one shots for sure, and that one definitely seemed like it, which is I'm sure tough to do, and I don't know how they kind of shot that because I obviously probably didn't go to an actual volcano. So I'd be interested to see how they shot that and got those smoky effects. I wonder how much of that is CGI, how much is practical, and where that balance lies.
Right.
Because I'm sure that was very difficult. And I remember, I saw that there was an interview where he talks about shooting that scene. I didn't end up clicking on it. But I might go back and find it because I'd be very interested to see. But yeah, that decapitation at the end, sick. Was it disappointing? I was kind of hoping that he would get back to Anya Taylor-Joy, but you kind of know he's not going to, which is unfortunate.
Yeah.
Right.
But I was hoping there was going to be a happy ending, and it was a mixed bag where I was like, all right, he's probably not, but I really want him to, and it'd be nice if he did. But it's an Eggers movie. He's dead. He's gonna die. Yeah, he's probably not gonna go back. It's still kind of a happy ending though, because he's right. Dude, now that he'd killed his one son at that point, right? So he was probably gonna come and hunt him down maybe at some point. So, and now he's got children. His bloodline lives on.
Right.
Yeah.
You got taken
now,
by
Blake,
Valkyrie to Valhalla.
What up?
Are you sticking with your theory that Anya Taylor-Joy is the same character here as she's in The Witch? No,
that was just a hunch. But there was much more like magical forces and witches and stuff. I thought before I saw the movie.
He fights a demon in a mound for a sword.
That was a cool.
He's basically a vampire, right? Because he can't go into the moonlight. That's basically exactly what it is.
That's a good point.
So
yeah. I forgot what it was exactly. That sword's pretty cool. Like not only the design of it, but it's like, oh, it can only be used at night under moonlight or at Hell's Gates.
Yep.
Which I don't know how, I don't know what kind of sheath that is, but it seems unpractical. And that scene where the guards trying to get it open, and then me I also saw it with Noah too. He joined us for our screening. I should say that Noah too, my roommate. He joined us, and when he tosses it just next to the door, you're like, okay, really? Like, can it be more obvious that he's about to escape and take his sword back? It was like the dumbest thing ever. That was pretty funny to me.
Very cool, almost Del Toro-esque character that he cuts the nose off the guy, and then that guy shows up again later.
That was cool.
I kind of forgot about that detail. That was something I did want to bring up. But yeah, that was a nice through line to have him come back because you kind of you recognize him
right
immediately.
Away. He greets him off the ship.
And he's one of the last people that Skarsgård ends up killing.
Puts the sword through his face. Fuck, that was crazy.
Exactly.
Quietly,
he goes, "I'm coming for the rest."
Yeah, that might be the best kill with the fucking sword.
Oh, that was brutal. Yeah, that was a brutal one. There's a lot of brutal kills because he's got the head through the skull. He's got
decapitation.
Decapitation. He headbutts a guy to death.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
He headbutts the mountain to death from Game of Thrones.
I recognized him as a mountain. I was like, there's no way there's another man that big. That's the mountain. So headbutts him to death. And then this wasn't necessarily the kill, but when the kid was on his back stabbing him in the shoulder, I was like, ooh, and it keeps going. You're like, all right, he's gonna shake him off something, but like he gets stabbed like 15 times almost.
Yeah,
a lot of visceral imagery in here, and I love it for it. Not
sure.
Yeah.
Do all Robert Eggers movies have a fart in them?
I don't know. I haven't seen The Witch.
I don't know if The Witch does. When I rewatched it last week, I don't think it did.
Okay.
That'd be an interesting like continuity thing to associate that the director with. Like no one's got time. Eggers got farts. It's just
goddamn farts.
Yeah.
If I could imagine it would be in this scene right here.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
It would definitely be somewhere in there. But hey man, overall good movie, man. You guys any more thoughts or you want to throw it out?
I guess my only thought is going to be where it lands on the entropy list.
Ooh, segue.
Yeah. Welcome back, listeners who skipped over the spoiler segment of the podcast. Here we're going to go ahead and rank the Northman up upon the entropy list. For those of you who do not know, I don't know who doesn't know at this point. It's episode 100, baby. But this is how we rate our movies rather than do it out of 5 stars, out of 10. We throw up all the movies we review on a list and see how they compare to one another, regardless of genre, regardless of anything else, that whole thing. And then if you want to see it for yourself, you can check the episode description where it is linked to my Letterboxd. We finally, 98, or are we not at 100? We're not. We're at 99 movies.
Next week.
Just because of how the episodes shake out, which is fine. There's episode 100. That's still the big the momentous occasion. The Northman here. So as we said earlier, I think the biggest comparison is going to be the Green Knight, but we also have the Lighthouse to compare it to. Both those movies in the top 15. I think Green Knight's still in the top 15, right?
Yeah, Green Knight is 15.
Oh, Green Knight is 15. So both of those movies in the top 15. I'd be interested to see if it can crack that upper echelon there. Anyone have any early guesses as to where they'd like to place it?
I'm not going first. What would you, Adam? What are your thoughts?
I haven't gone first in a while, and I was hoping you weren't gonna point that out here, but I will 100% go first. And as I don't know where I'm gonna put it, I guess I'll just live commentate my thought process here. I will say I like the Green Knight way more than this.
Okay.
So it probably won't crack above that. Because I also like the Lighthouse more than this, I would say. That being said, I don't think it drops too far down because this is still a very good movie to me. I still don't think this is too far down, but it might be much lower than you guys are going to go. I'm going to put it at 26, below Training Day and above Black Hawk Down.
I like it.
Because Training Day, phenomenal. Another one of those movies where I hadn't seen it before, came in with no expectations, blew me out of the water. in this one, it was kind of the opposite. Had seen Edgar's other movies, had way too high expectations, and it was kind of just lukewarm for me. And so I think 26 is a good spot.
I'm actually in probably a similar boat. I just kind of taking a look at it now. I originally was kind of looking Green Knight, Starship Troopers, kind of that area. Then I saw Kill Bill Volume 1 at 24, and I was like, fuck. And then I saw E2 Mama Tambien at 21. Dunkirk again, Requiem for a Dream. So I think I'm actually going to have this at 25 above Training Day and below Kill Bill.
25, okay. So right around the same mark, of course. Ty or Blake, either you guys got an idea?
I also had the extremely coincidental thought of Kill Bill Volume 1. And this is that's something to it's very hard to put something past that. And this is close. It's just a couple more things that I really, really like about Kill Bill and a couple more things that I don't necessarily care for in this. But this is still really good, and obviously right up my alley. So I'm gonna do 25.
Fair enough.
Fair. Okay, yeah, that's I'm all in the same ballpark for the most part. So I mean, kind of just thinking of my thought process out loud. Saw the Green Knight, obviously, just kind of for the time period. I do like the Green Knight more than this film. And then after that, then I just got back to the basics of like this being a revenge tale. And then I instantly thought of Kill Bill. And I was like, there's no way I'm putting this above Kill Bill. One, just for Kill Bill being, to my knowledge, I think Kill Bill is kind of their Tarantino's own adaptation, right, of a revenge tale.
Sure.
So like that kind of has it going for it itself. It's not a retold story. So I was like, okay, I don't know if I could put it there. So then I was like, we're definitely going under Kill Bill. And then I was like, okay, well, where's Kill Bill Volume 2? And I saw that at 33, and I'm like, all right, I think that's probably a tad bit too low.
Sure.
I do think that should probably be moved around, right, objectively. But I'm going to go, I think I'm going to go 30.
30.
So below Boys in the Hood, above Shang-Chi?
Yep.
I think that's respectable, sir.
That's also, very respectable.
Because, I mean, again, you got Training Day right there, Scream, The Conjuring, both just awesome movies.
Right.
Yeah, definitely.
Great movies. They're their own adaptations. They're not retold stories. You know what I mean? So you can, but.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah. So we had a 26, a 25. Ty, you're also 25, right?
Yes.
And then a 30. That's going to round us out to an average rating of 26.5, meaning we do have to tie break it with Black Hawk Down. Give me a second to bring up that IMDb, as I don't have it up in front of me currently, and my computer's typing weird. Give me a second.
Oh my gosh.
What is happening?
Tyler Phil.
Every time I type, Tyler Phil.
There once was a guy named Phil. And
He had a lot of bills?
fuck.
Dude, I actually it won't let me type.
Uh-oh. All right, hold on. I'll sub in here.
Yeah, you go ahead and look it up. I don't know what's going on.
So Northman is 7.1. Black Hawk Down is 7.7.
There we go. I don't know what the hell just happened. 7.7, you said?
That is true.
And Northman is 7.9.
7.9. Oh, I apologize.
Yeah. So
I was going to say, I thought it was a 7.9 I told you earlier, and I had it pulled up earlier. I was like, 7.1. I was like, what's this guy looking at?
Nah, 7.9. So the Northman edges out Black Hawk Down and will be placed at 26 on the Entropy list. I don't want to brag or anything, but I think of the 4 of the last 5 movies, my rating has been where it gets placed.
Well, la-dee-da.
Yeah.
Sorry,
guys.
Kind of speaking, though, we've talked a lot about the Entropy list and how there's kind of different tiers to everything. And I'm starting to notice another tier here, kind of around the 25 mark, the Kill Bill Volume 1 mark as well, too, which is good because, as we've kind of talked about, there was kind of at the start of the podcast, there was definitely a level of quality drop that was pretty significant on certain parts of it.
Sure.
And it's good to see we're filling that in as well, too.
Yeah.
And that'll only continue to develop.
It's true.
Eventually, we're going to have to, like, name these tiers. Like, once we get enough movies on here, I feel like we could, like, categorize and level out
S tier,
what
A
this
tier.
year. Yeah, kind of like an S tier, A tier. Where are we drawing these boundaries here? But we might have to wait a bit to get some more movies on there because I think there are even more gaps we could fill, or more brackets to make as far as like the tiers go. But anyway,
sure.
That's it for the review. Our next review is actually not going to be next week. We're going to have to take next week off as we just, scheduling wise, have some issues where we're not going to be able to schedule some traveling stuff. So next week is going to be pushed to the week after. We're going to try to do...
I'm sorry.
Nice.
Thank you for that. Yeah, no, that was a good one. We're going to try to do a double app the week after next. So we'll be doing a review of Everything Everywhere All at Once, which has been getting incredible reviews and is currently in theaters. So go ahead and check that out. But then Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness is also coming out next Friday. So that will be the actual review for the week, and we're going to try to sneak in the double up of Everything Everywhere, because that I really want to see and we'll probably want to talk about. So go ahead and check those movies out and join us for our reviews, not this next week but the week after. Nathaniel, do we have a 5-star review?
We certainly do. This is our final 5-star review for episode 100. So there you go, folks. Yep. If you give us a 5-star review, we will review it, or we will read it on the podcast. I don't think we're going to review your review, but it can say anything you want. It can be nice. It can be funny. It can be mean. Just don't be evil. And it's got to be 5 stars. Otherwise, we won't read it. So with that being said, this week we have one from DLO619 Money Sign. And he gives us 10 out of 10, actually, and also 5 stars. It says, "This podcast is money. Almost made me cry from happiness." Which,
whoa,
good, man.
It's a lot of emotions, man.
That's true. But maybe
I'm glad we can...
DLO9 Money Sign is a emotional guy, you know?
Maybe he is. But I'm sure it was the happy tears, you know?
I would think so. He said it was for cry from happiness, so.
Yeah, there you go. So it was a good thing, yeah.
But if you want to hear your review read out on the podcast, just got to give us 5 stars. You can do us an app. It helps us show up in other people's recommended podcasts and that kind of thing, so it does help us grow. And thank you very much.
Yes, we do appreciate any of those reviews. So leave your own and get yours read out here. You can also send us an email with any questions, comments, concerns, or grievances, anything of that sort. Send those into backrowbanterpod@gmail.com. Send us in your memories from the podcast. For the episodes 1 through 100. You know, what movies did you guys enjoy? Is there any special movies you guys have a memory with? Maybe you watched it with a friend or watched something for the first time that you didn't expect to like and ended up really enjoying. Maybe a favorite moment from the podcast, a favorite joke, anything. You know, we want to hear from you guys about, you know, those who have been listening. What have you guys taken away from this? What have you guys, you know, enjoyed about it? We'd love to hear. So please, anybody, send it in email. Tweet at us, whatever it ends up being. We'll hopefully get that read out next week, or in 2 weeks when we do our next episode. That's it there. Share the podcast, of course. Share with a friend, family member, anything of that sort. Maybe you're going on a quest back to avenge your fallen father, and you meet some other people along the way. You know, some fellow coworkers who are bored and don't like the tyranny they're living under, and you're like, hey guys, like, it could be, it's pretty bad, you know, it's pretty bad. Our other coworker just got, you know, sacrificed because our you know, our
crops are bad.
Son died, and yeah, and obviously he needs a human sacrifice. That sucks, you know. I'm not gonna you know, sugarcoat that, but I just found this really cool podcast with some really cool guys. They just made it to episode 100. There's 100 episodes we have to listen to now. And on top of that, they're making more in the future. I think you guys would really enjoy it. So show it to those coworkers of yours. Whoever it is, just share the podcast. And yeah, you can also follow us on Twitter @BanterRow, on Instagram Back Row Banter Pod, and on YouTube, it's just Back Row Banter. BlakeHolder, where can the people find you at, my man?
What up? Letterboxd, BlakeHolder. I'll be on there logging some things, rating things out of 5. So I know we didn't have what we were watching, but I actually got to 2 horror classics this past week. So I'll touch on that next time we record. But yeah, we'll be on there dropping some thoughts and knowledge, and that's it. Let's pass it to let's go to Ty.
Twitch.tv/El Trabajo 87. I'm there, hanging out, playing video games, having a good time. Apex has been really great so far, and we're ranking up, baby, and we love it. So come hang out. It's a good time. And Twitter, Letterboxd, and what's the other thing? Instagram are all Tyler Vidalis, Vidales. Nathaniel?
What up, folks? You can find me on Twitter and Letterboxd at @Gingrich, or you can find me on Instagram at NathanielG92. Adam, take us home, Bo.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Aish24, on Letterboxd at Aish, and on Twitch, where I stream Halo most often. It's twitch.tv/Aish. I actually have my Halo tournament this weekend. I leave tomorrow for Kansas City to face up against the big boys on land. This is my first time going. It's going to be an interesting experience. I've never really done anything like this where I'm competing next to my teammates with the people I'm playing the game against across from me. Like, I've had LANs with friends, of course, but like, this is going to be very interesting to kind of experience, where I have the people I'm playing with and talking to right next to me, but then the people that I'm trying to beat in the game, obviously I've competed in other things, but like the people I'm trying to compete just right across from me. And I've seen countless clips in the past few years since I've started watching esports of things getting heated, especially in these open brackets where it's just amateur players or semi-pro players, and you know, you play people online over and over again. Like, I matchmake against people constantly, and so like seeing people's faces, that's gonna be weird. And then you know, going up against them and having them in front of me is gonna be a lot of fun. Yeah, no, I'm very excited. You know, regardless of what, it's gonna be a cool experience. Regardless of what happens, like, I know this weekend's gonna be a great time, because this is something I started watching competitive Halo and then esports in general when I was like 14, for actually even 13, I think. So I've been wanting to go to one of these events for like 8 years now at this point. So I'm finally going, and not only am I going, I'm competing. Like, it's gonna be a great weekend, regardless of how my team does. And honestly, we've been doing really well, so I think we will do pretty well, and I'm very excited to see how that goes. But regardless of that, no matter what happens, I'm very excited. It's gonna be a great time. But anyway, what has been a great time is doing 100 episodes of this podcast with you 3 gentlemen, and with you listeners, of course. Thank you guys once again for all of the support. You know, it's not huge, but it's enough for us to keep going, and we'll make it huge one day. We'll keep going with this and see where it goes. Thank you all for joining us for this episode, for all of the ones before, and all the ones in the future. Join us for our review in 2 weeks of Everything Everywhere All at Once and the Multiverse of Madness. And for the 100th or so time, we'll BRB.
Thank you again, everyone, for listening. We love you. Be excellent to each other, and we'll BRB.
Yeah, it's been a blast, and we are very, very thankful for what we've kind of built, and hopefully what we can build in the future. And we appreciate each and every one of you. But yeah, other than that, just be kind to one another. You never know where you're at in your journey or where somebody else is in theirs, and we will BRB.
Yeah, we'll keep it short and sweet this time. So as we always say, as long as you're doing at least one thing you love and enjoy every day, then I would say you're living the right way. So we appreciate the love and support as always. Yeah, we'll BRB.
America. Ready for another lesson.
Did you guys see Elon Musk's newest tweet?
No.
Well, I saw.
Was it the Coke?
I saw on social media that he purchased Twitter for like $40 billion.
Yeah, 44.
Cash.
Something like that.
That's absurd, dude.
Yeah.
Can you imagine like the amount of things that he could have did with that money?
Well, I think
He'll do things. You just got to have a good plan for it.
Yeah, I guess so. True.
Do you? Because I think it was the UN or the UN or the WHO. He said, "Hey, if you give me a plan on how you would use the money to end world hunger, I will
He'll
pay
do
for it."
What a nice guy.
And they called his bluff, and they created a plan, and they gave it to him, and they never received the money.
I didn't think they gave him a plan.
No, they did.
It must not have been a very good plan.
Can you imagine,
I haven't seen it, but
so say that plan occurs, right? And then he goes through with it, then he does that. That's almost scary. He'd be like a Jesus figure. Like when you think about it.
Yeah, in some ways for sure.
Listen, there's a Star
really
Wars religion. You can literally be a Jedi and go to like a temple and shit like that. So if you can do that, I'm sure somebody would start some kind of religion to back Elon Musk.
That would have 100% happened, dude. That'd be a good movie. The guy who ends world hunger, right? Like what's the psychological effects of that, man?
Yeah, true. But yeah, anyway, his last tweet was, "Next time I'm buying Coca-Cola and I'm putting the cocaine back in."
Yeah, I saw that one. That was hilarious. Got a kick out of that.
Is there anything he can't buy?
No.
He's the world's richest man.
That's crazy, man.
Although supposedly the Tesla stock bounced so hard today that now it put the Twitter deal into kind of jeopardy.
Wow, that's hilarious.
Because they're like, hey,
because he doesn't have all of the money that he's worth.
No, right. Of course,
nobody does
have it, obviously.
Right.
But yeah, they were like, hey, maybe you shouldn't run 5 different companies as CEO. And everyone was like, well, if you're taking over Twitter, that's going to be like kind of the lion's share. So apparently Tesla stock just dropped like a stone. Which is what he took the loan out against.
Could you imagine if that shit goes backwards? Like he can't buy Twitter anymore.
I think he would probably almost give up on not give up on Tesla, but at least give up on the car aspect of it. He's got enough data. That's all that company is. It's just a data company.
True.
Yup. Scary shit, homie.
Shout
Yeah,
out
it's
Elon Musk, man.
It's funny. I don't know that I shout out Elon
Yeah, I was
Musk.
like, yeah, why should you do
him
that?
I don't know. I mean, he's obviously done, some good stuff, but it's hard to really put those guys on a pedestal when they've also not done so many good things.
Correct. It's hard to, feel like anyone that rich. There's no way to get that rich without exploiting somebody or something.
For sure.
Oh, well,
You don't get that rich without exploiting doing
His-
some kind of exploitation.
His original
No,
money.
I was gonna say, go ahead, Nathaniel.
His original money came from a fucking opal mine in South Africa. It was awful.
Right.
It was apartheid money.
Yep.
Yeah, that earlier Nathaniel and I were talking about the deal, and he's like, if I had to, take $40 million and give it to you or give it to Elon Musk, and who's gonna do better with that money? He's like, I'd put my money on you.
Yeah.
Right.
Just like for society, it can't be good. I don't know, man. That shit's,
Like I said, it's absurd that that's what he decided to do with that.
Insane.
It's just purchase Twitter, and it's like you could have did almost anything, man.
Well, I think the estimate was what, $20 billion to end world hunger.
6.
6, yeah. I
6
think it was even
billion.
less.
6
I
and
thought
a half.
six
A
was-
fraction of that.
I thought
shit,
6 was just the U.S., but I could be wrong.
I could be, yeah. Who knows? But even
don't
still,
remember.
dude. Nonetheless,
But
it's
less than
it's
half
less
of
than
what he spent on
$44 million.
Twitter.
right?
Yes, correct. He
Right.
could have saved
Billions.
people from starving to death.
Now
essentially.
again, as we said before, he doesn't just have 20 billion lying around in cash.
Right,
Like,
right.
Correct.
But yeah, it is one of those
Sets
things.
and things of that nature.
I just think anyone with over 50 billion or something like that, like you're just not. You're not
Yeah.
in that business to. You're in business at that point. You are a business. You're not. No one's altruistic and has that amount of money.
I don't think I'd want that much money.
I don't even know what I would do with that.
It's too much.
I don't
even think the regular person can fathom.
Yeah, Blake and I used to talk about this all the time. Like, your brain just can't wrap your head around it. Like,
yeah, I really don't think you can.
I think
for the average everyday working person.
Yeah, someone said like
you go crazy.
It's like 11 days to count, or 11 hours, or 11 days to count to 1 million. It's like 31 to count to 1 billion. Like, just fucking stupid amounts of money.
Yeah,
stupid.
I'm good. I'll take more money than what I have now, but I'm good on that much money.
Yeah.
How much money do you think it takes for you guys to like never have to work again? Like, if I was to write you a check today that could last you the rest of your life, where you live comfortably, how much money would that be?
That's a good question. I'd say probably
at the minimum, like my minimum, probably like 5 mil.
Yeah, I was gonna say pushing 3 to 5 million, depending on how you want to live your life, right?
Because $1 million is gonna pay for my kid from start to finish.
I'm pretty sure they talk about it on like a throwaway line in Succession. They're like 5 million is like the worst millionaire you can be, because you're like just in like the thing where you get fucked on taxes, but you're like just above the other thing.
It's not tax though. It's not tax. My check is clear of government taxes.
Just like
I think
yeah, I'd say
5 million. And obviously depending on how savvy you are in terms of investing, crypto, things of that nature, like you could certainly do well 5 million.
I'm staying away from crypto.
Fuck that noise.
I'm out.
Yeah, I'm not knowledgeable of it. I actually got a friend of mine who graduated college, I think in 2020 or so, but was into finance and things of that nature. But he's into that, and I would say he's done relatively well, you know, from the scene these things. He doesn't work. That's why I guess he does work. That is his.
Yeah.
Yeah, but at 5 million, I take $1 million just to live for a year, and I find somebody else that does that for me.
For sure, yeah, definitely. You can pay somebody to do that shit for you.
Just be like, here's the account. I don't want to ever have to worry about anything.
Yeah, I'm with Ty. Give me 3 to 5. I can make a shake.
Isn't that fucking crazy? Though, like, that you would need 3 to 5 million to just not have to worry about your life. Like, is that a good thing?
That sounds like so much money.
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah, but then when you're talking about people that got like fucking billions, it's really not that much money.
I know, that's the crazy thing.
It's crazy.
We're talking about Elon Musk with who's.
Well, then you go even crazier, and you think about like you could just take $100,000 and go live in fucking like someplace pretty dope for.
Oh yeah,
5 years.
Just go fuck off somewhere.
Yeah,
for sure.
So like Thailand or something like that, or something. Like, it's just crazy.
Everything
it's all relative.
So relative.
Like how rich we are in comparison to the rest of the world or anything like that. Like, fuck, man.
And it's crazy that like our mindset on what a dollar is has changed so much. I remember like being a kid and like, dude, you're saving quarters as a kid. You had a piggy bank.
Sure.
And now it's just.
Bro,
it's almost worthless.
I went to Disneyland at like age 6 with my like allowance. It was $32. I thought I was the fucking king of the world.
Could have bought the world,
dude. I was like, I'm so fucking rich.
I remember I did a lemonade stand as a kid, and I made like maybe $35. And what I really wanted to buy was a Transformers helmet that I'd seen on TV. And I got it, and I was like, I am rich. Like, I remember I had all the 35s, or I had the $35, and it was like all singles, but because it was all singles, it was like a little stack of money.
Yeah, exactly.
I would just keep counting it because I was like, so much money.
$35. I asked my parents when I went to Disneyland if I could get a rubber band around my $32 or whatever, because I was like, isn't that enough money? They're like, you could like roll it up maybe, but like, yeah, it's goofy.
It's funny, man. Funny how that shit changes.